What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing a video on cleaning this, or attempting to clean this Omron relay. Actually, I've got a pair of them out of my Kenwood TS-820S, and I've got issues. I'll insert a video here of what's happening and how I've narrowed it down to one or both of these relays. And so we're going to go ahead and try to disassemble these and clean them. I've tried one thing already, and that was to wet a strip of paper with deoxit and run it through here in between all the contacts, and it made a difference, but it didn't totally fix the problem. So we're going to go a little bit deeper today and do more of a full disassembly and cleaning on this and see what we get. So the first step is going to be to pop this Lexan case off, and we're just going to gently try and get under the edge here with a small flat screwdriver. You can see there's a pin here and a pin here holding the case on. I've also had luck with a razor blade if you can't get a thin screwdriver underneath it. And that might be the case for us today too. Nope, there we go. So just gently get underneath, and we're going to try to develop a gap there like that. And then go over to the other side without snapping the first side back down. And do the same thing. There you go. So then the case should just slide off. Next, I'm going to remove this Phillips screw on the end in order to gain access to all of our contacts. And we want to pay very close attention to how things are put together here so that we can put it back. I'm just going to grip the lower base. That way I don't put any pressure on the contacts or the coil or anything and risk doing any damage. And now I'm going to put my thumb over the top and try to hold everything in place while I pull the screw out. That way it doesn't all fall out. And we'll see here if we can just slide these out. I might go ahead and remove one more screw on the bottom of the base plate here. Well, unless it's finer than my current screwdriver. Let's try leaving that in for now. Okay, if we pull out slightly to the side, we're able to lift this first set of contacts out. Here's how things look disassembled. So what I did is, if you just get your fingernail or that razor blade gently in between the wafers here, once you've got that Phillips screw out, you're able to separate the layers and the different pins of the relay. So then all I do is take a pencil eraser, and this one's already been cleaned, but you can see how nice and clean and shiny everything is. So you just take an eraser, hold the pin still against the table, and gently scrub everything with the eraser, and it'll clean it right up. I'll show you on this one if I can. So here's the before. Well, it's been cleaned once, but you still see some dark spots down there towards the bottom of the pins. So I'll clean that up now. And here's how it looks in comparison after a couple seconds with an eraser. So what I'm going to do now is, this is the first half of the relay. I'm going to set all of that aside and make sure I don't mix things up. And then I'll pop this half out. It looks like I just need to separate it up at the top right there and there, those two silver arms off of the coil are holding it in place. So we'll slide it out, clean this half up, and then I'm going to use my complete relay as a diagram to stack things in the correct order and put it back together. So I'll get this pulled apart and show you how it looks in pieces and show you how to clean. Okay, so I'll try and show this. Here's that block right after I took it out. So there's just some light glue in here holding things together. And if I can get in there, one side's generally easier than the other. Sounds like it'll be this side. If I get in there between these two pins with my fingernails and just gently separate that, you can see there we got our first set of pins off, and we've got a couple more to go. So we'll just get in and separate those. I'm going to leave these together for now while I clean this first set. So here you can see the tarnish on there and the carbon. We'll take our pencil eraser right on the table here. And get that scrubbed right off, and then I'll just make a light pass on the contacts themselves. My contacts don't actually look too bad. The main thing for me is my pins going into the socket seem to be where my excessive resistance is occurring. Okay, here's the side that hasn't been done yet, and show that, and here's the side that's been done. Okay, here is our model relay, not yet disassembled, and we want to keep it that way because we're going to use it as an example. So I've looked at it a little bit, and it looks like our order from the right to the left, we want a insulator, we'll call it. Then we're going to have two normal pins, as in one of these here. These are our two sets of normal pins. These are our two sets of offset pins. So we're going to go insulator, two normal pins, insulator, then our offset pins, insulator, two normal pins. So I'm going to stack that up, show it to you, and make sure that it looks correct. Okay, I think we've got it here. Let me get the camera to hold still. Hopefully we'll focus on that. Well, maybe not. Yeah, it's not liking my lighting for some reason. But what we've got is on each end, two sets of those regular pins, as I mentioned, and in between those, separated by insulators, are two of those offset pins. So what you end up with are your tall contacts in the center, surrounded by your two short contacts. Sorry that it won't focus, I don't know why. Okay, let me back up just a little bit. This is one that I already had put back together, and I encountered a small issue, so I'm going to pull it apart again and kind of catch you up with what I've learned through the process. Let me just pop the cover off here. Okay, so as far as the order going back together, I'm just going to leave a still shot on this so that you can kind of visualize that for yourself. What we've got from the left all the way over is the frame of the coil, then the copper right-angled spring. Better keep my finger out of there so it stays focused. Then there's a silver metal spacer, then the frame that everything mounts to, and then moving across we've got an insulator, a set of stationary pins, those will be those standard straight pins, a set of moving pins, and the bend in the pin goes something like this. So it comes back and then forward. So that's the moving pin, like that. The stationary pins both face inward. So the bends go out and the pins come in, or the contacts. So we've got two sets that are identical. The first set here and the second set. And then the exception is in the center, there are two insulators, and there's a real thin metal block in the middle. And then on the outside, we just got our insulator and our thicker metal block right there. So hopefully that helps. It's a little bit of a pain getting it all stacked and back together. I don't really have any great pointers on doing that. I've done it 3 different ways now, and I don't have a best way. But that's that. Hopefully that helps being able to see it all stacked up together there. Make sure that your front 2 moving contacts poke up through the moving wafer up on top right there. And then what happens is when this moves, it pulls those 2 and it pushes on the outer 2. Like that. And this should be very mobile when it's back together. That will ensure that it's on its pivoting pins. Down here on the bottom of the coil, there's 2 little pins that this lines up with so that it can move easily. Okay, anyway, catching you up now, I got this all reassembled, put it in the radio, and it did not work. And what was happening is I would flip the send and receive switch, and it should have clicked in and out, and it did not. And so that tells me there's either a major problem, or the more likely cause is my coil has an issue because my coil's not energizing. And sure enough, right down here, I have a loose solder joint right here. This wire came unattached. So I'm going to grab some solder and resolder both coil leads. Those were flexed back and forth quite a bit when I was moving things around. So let me grab some solder and get those soldered up, and we'll take this out to the radio and give it a try. I think that looks pretty good. This iron is pretty dang hot. One thing about these leads is if you're going to be plugging this in and taking it out, for me it was just once, but it had been moved around quite a lot in the meantime while it was out. But anyway, as you're plugging it in, you're flexing these pins, which in turn flexes the leads to the coil. So you've got to be a little bit careful there. But if you're having similar issues after reassembly and cleaning, make sure to check your coil leads and your solder joints there. Okay, let's take it out to the shack. Okay, the relay we were just working with was the 300 ohm relay. That goes in the antenna switching position. back here in the PA area of the radio. And then our 385 ohm relay is here in the aux position in the center of the radio. Okay, let's fire it up. Let's find some receive audio here. Okay, we're just listening on 80 meters here. And my first test will be with the heater switch off. I'm simply going to flip my send and receive switch and compare the results to before we did the cleaning. That's a great sign so far. Now let's try letting our tubes warm up for a little while. Let's find an English domestic station here. It's a little tricky operating upside down. Okay, and we're just going to flip our switch. We are not transmitting anything because we're on sideband mode, and I'm just going to stay quiet. But I will hit my foot switch. Same difference whether I do that or flip the send receive switch. And that's a great sign. I think we got it fixed. Let's get this chassis back together and flip the radio over, and we'll make a couple test contacts. Alright, so here's what we've got now, and I want to show you this just to hopefully help with some troubleshooting if you're dealing with the same issue. We've got the relays installed, chassis on, and I'm trying to tune up the radio. So we'll go to tune mode, ALC, peak the drive, did that already. Dip the plate. Basically dipped right there. Switch to CW, dip the plate again. Yep, and then increase the loading. Redip. Etc. Anyway, just want to show you, here's our output power. Nothing. We are not transmitting. So what I'm going to do is flip it over and take the bottom cover off, and we'll try and figure out why. We're bottom side again, as you can see with the cover off. Radio is still tuned up, and this whole time I'm going into my dummy load, as anyone should. So we're on CW mode. I'm going to flip it while we watch the aux relay. See that it's working. And I've got the cover on the antenna relay, but we'll remove that to see that it's working. I can feel it moving. However, one thing you're not going to know with this test is whether you have contacts that are bent and are not disengaging, or whether you have any sort of debris, maybe eraser dust or whatever junk on the contacts, and they're not making a good connection. So I'm going to pull off the cover shield on that relay, and we'll take a look at it while transmitting. Okay, here's the antenna TR relay. We'll just flip Send to receive, and it is functioning. So I think we'll go a little bit deeper and pull these out. Oh, by the way, here's our outgoing power. Still nothing. And I've also tried it on sideband mode with my woodpecker attached so that we have some sort of carrier being sent, and same thing, no power. So let's shut it down, and we'll go ahead and pull one relay out at a time. Actually, I think what we'll do is switch relays and see if there's any change, just so we know which relay we need to mess with. My feeling is that it's going to be this one here in the PA section, being that we're not transmitting, but we are receiving okay. So I'm going to switch these around, and we'll see what happens here. Let's first leave the heater off and see if our receive is the same. Okay, same there, it's working. So now we'll flip our finals on and let them warm up for just a second, and we'll see if we happen to have any output power now. Still nothing. Okay, I noticed something here on this is our TR relay, but it's now in the aux socket. But if you watch on those outer two pins, so right now we're on the left position. When I flip, we move to the right, and it is not disengaging at all. So we need to get this relay apart again, see if we have some bent contacts there, and get those fixed up, and we'll get it back in and see what happens. Okay, what I'm going to do is, you can see here, if I manually actuate this, every pin seems to move except the one facing us in the right corner. Let's double check that on this side. Make it move there. Looks pretty good. I can see that the right pin here is bent in too far, because I've really got to push on it to get it disconnected from the off position pin. So I'm just going to make a few adjustments to where every pin disconnects and connects in the correct position, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, we've got it now where you can see we're making contact on all the rear pins. And I should also mention the straps on the rear pins are touching their pins down at the bottom, which is also very important, because if they're not, you're not making connection anywhere. So let's double check here. We engage it. Those both move forward and touch and disengage from the rear pin. Let go. It seems to be working. Let's check the other side. Touching the front. Now the rear. Front, rear. It looks like I just need to bend that front right pin a little bit. Let me do that here. Because otherwise it's staying engaged all the time. There we go. We've got space there. Now it's touching. Now it's not. Now it's touching, etc. So let's throw the cap back on this. we know it's not a coil issue like before, because it is actually clicking in and out. So let's plug it right in the same shot. See if we did any good. We'll start again by just checking our send receive with the heater off. That's working good. We are in CW mode. Our tune-up should not have changed. And we're still going into a dummy load, so give this just a couple seconds. Part 3, by the way, is coming out soon. I've got it filmed, I just need to get it edited and released on the merch tuner. Okay, let's go ahead and see what we've got for output power. There you go. That is a great sign. So, we had issues there where we had pins not disengaging and pins not engaging on our relay. So, that's an important thing to note, preferably before you put it in the radio and try to use it, but I unfortunately did not do that. So we'll get the bottom cover back on. Yep, we're working great. And we'll try and make some contacts now.
Okay, Eric, thank you for the contact. The 7-3, good luck. Foxtrot, America.
Kilo Echo 0, Quebec Echo United.
Something Echo?
Kilowatt Echo 0, Quebec Echo United.
Kilowatt 0, Quebec Echo Whiskey, is that correct?
Negative. Kilowatt Echo 0, Quebec Echo United.
What is the last letter? Last letter?
United. Uniform. United.
It's uniform, the last letter?
QSL.
Kilo Echo 0, Quebec Echo Uniform, QSL?
QSL.
Yeah, you are 4x4. 4x4, over.
QSL 5858.
Thank you for 5-8. Good luck.
73.
058 Foxtrot, America. NEDX, beaming North America, Sugar 58,